stop pretending. Come home with me. Let's write a history. Tonight I'll make you see. It's all about us. It's all about us. As we're dancing close together, making out. It's all about us. It's all about us. There's some magic in your eyes, can't get enough. Feel your hands, the way you're touching me around my neck. Got chills down my back, you do it right. The way you're holding me, no, I don't want this moment to stop. No need to fight it, I cannot hide it. We won't regret it, so come with me. Maybe we're meant to be a perfect melody, and I don't want this moment to stop. Time to go home, don't want this night to end. Yeah, about time we stop pretending. Come home with me, let's write a history. Tonight I'll make you see. It's all about us. It's all about us. It's all about us. We're dancing close together, making out, making out. It's all about us. It's all about us. There's some magic in your eyes, can't get enough. I can't get enough. Oh, it's all about us. It's all about us. It's all about us. It's all about us. Time to go home. Don't want this night to end. Yeah, about time we stop pretending.
I gotta turn the music down so you can hear me. What's going on, my friends? Oh, my goodness, I missed you guys. Missed you guys like crazy. Let me take these sunglasses off. That is a warm-up if I ever had one. That felt great. Felt amazing, actually. How are you guys doing? How is everybody? Talk to me, talk to me. My earphones are being weird. Hold on. It's like they're unbalanced or something. I missed you guys. Now, you might notice it's a little brighter in here today. And you know why? It's because the sun is shining and I had the curtains open and I was like, I don't want to close the curtains. And so I just made some lighting adjustments with the camera. And there you go. You're getting a brighter look. It's not the same colors in the background, right? But that's okay. I actually think that it's good to switch up your scene every once in a while, right? So I actually think it's okay to change things up. In fact, I think it's a great way to keep things fresh. So if you guys have been around for a while, then you know me, you know that I have been evolving my setup for quite some time. If you haven't been around for a while, that means you might be new. And if that's the case, then welcome. Say that you're new, say this is your first time catching a live. Let me know. I would love to know who is here that is new. My name is Melanie Diane Howe, and I help people basically put themselves out there using social media, and live video is my favorite way to do that because everything that we just did, that little warm up, that little dance party we just had, you can't do that in a little post. You gotta go live. Live video is the best way to connect with everybody and chat with people, right? So Crystal says, are you sweating? No, I'm actually good. I'm good. Now, if that was 10 minutes, I'd probably be sweating by now, right? For sure. IRC Adventure Talk says, that was a workout for sure. It kind of was, actually. It's a great way to just get warmed up. So Cynthia's here with Purgatory Paranormal of New York. She says, the sun is shining for sure. Thank goodness. Yes, it is here in Indiana. That's where I am located. It is windy as hell, though, out there. So last week I was on vacation, right? And so am I still on vacation? No, I am back at it. And it is a crazy busy week for sure. In fact, the next few weeks are going to be nutty for me. Nutty, nutty, nutty. So Courtney, welcome Courtney. It's her first time watching live here as well. She comes over from East Central Indiana Social Media Group, which is a group that I'm involved in, and I host our monthly live videos there. And of course, Ariana Pokegal is here, and she says, I love live. Yes, she does. Ariana creates amazing, very, very fun videos, very creative, and I love them. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Kevin, by the way, Mr. Kevin McAleer, who is here, says, doing great, Melanie. Thank you, Kevin. Always love when you are here live, Kevin. And you posted a question in my Facebook group, which is the DIY Marketing with Melanie Facebook group. And if you're not already part of that, join us. Come join us over there. We are over there doing our thing. So I would love to see you guys come hang out with us over there in that group. And it's free. So it's an open community of other people doing their own marketing. So if you are a DIY marketer, then I would love to see you come hang out with us. So let me get a little situated here, moving a few things around, right? So, okay. Excuse me. Okay, so here's the deal. I will tell you as we get started, because some of you, PokeGal. I wonder if I can change it midstream. I was doing I cannot change it midstream. Hey, we're going to be in 720 today, y'all. So here's the deal. I was doing some demos earlier and I had to do some behind the scenes screenshots and stuff of StreamYard, which is what I'm using to go live. In fact, this stream is powered by StreamYard, and you can check out StreamYard, get a 14-day trial for the pro plan if you go to melaniediane.how/StreamYard, and you can check it out there. But this is the software I'm using. I am using OBS Virtual Camera to control what you see, but I love it. Ariana, so she's seeing that I am in 720. If you are on the professional plan, you can stream in 1080, especially to YouTube. If you are approved to stream in 1080 on Facebook, then you can stream to 1080 there. But earlier I changed it because I was doing a video that is geared towards new users or people that have not started using StreamYard yet. And we didn't want it to be misleading that it made it look like, hey, you always get 1080 when you don't, unless you only get 1080 when you're on the pro plan. So the funny thing is I changed it and I forgot to change the setting back. So today we're going to be 720. So a little lower on the crispness over on YouTube, but that is okay, right? That is okay. Hey, Kevin, you're getting a shout out from Laura. She says she loves your videos. And James is here. Hello, my friend. James, I'm so glad you're here. So excited that you are back with us. So last week I was on vacation and I still came live to you guys. I go live every Tuesday at 2:00 Eastern time. And I did last week. It was a short and sweet one. I was on the balcony and it was crazy windy that day in Florida. And it's crazy windy today in Indiana. But anyways, it's fine. I got the curtains open. We're ready to rock and roll. I am going to answer any questions that you guys have today about social media, live video, gear, tech, anything that you feel that you need to know to help you do your own marketing. So feel free to ask those questions. I saw that my buddy Derek has lots of questions about my vacation. If I have time to get to those, I will gladly share more details about my vacation. But let's keep it to the point today, right? Because we only have so much time. I'm going to stick around here till about 3:00. But I also today wanted to talk to you guys and do like a little mini training and talk to you guys about a little strategy for coming up with content ideas. So about 4 months ago, I did a little content workshop. You can find that replay on my YouTube channel in the playlist that's like masterclasses and whatnot. So you can see that content workshop I did in there. And but I find that people always struggle with sitting down and thinking of content ideas. They think of them on the fly. In fact, I mean, I do that. I've done it. I've done it a million times. But I also find that when I have a content bank of ideas, I feel so much more empowered to go create content or to basically develop my plan. And so what I want to encourage all of you guys to do is to go live on the regular. I want you guys going live every week. It really does make a difference. Ever since I started going live every Tuesday at 2:00 Eastern time, back in December, I think, is when I started doing that, maybe late November. Everything changed. Everything has changed. You guys are showing up more regularly. I'm getting more people showing up to the lives weekly. So you get more and more people actually showing up to your live videos, which is what you ultimately want to grow into. As you start your live video journey, that may not happen right away. You do have to train your audience to be joining you live. And if you're always all over the place, like I used to be, it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen very well. And so what I want to say is that if you can do it regularly and create a schedule, it'll happen. But there's a big but here. I know the apprehension sometimes. The apprehension is, Melanie, I can't go live once a week or more. I'm going to run out of ideas. And this happens all the time. My friend Crystal Profit, who's here as well, she teaches people podcasting. She probably runs into the same thing with her audience. She's encouraging them, hey, go create a podcast, go every week. She's celebrating a year, right, by the way, of a podcast that she created on top of her other podcast, the Profit Podcast. She has another podcast that she does a daily podcast, 5 days a week. There is a daily podcast. So come on. I mean, here's the thing. You're never going to run out of ideas. You're never going to run out of that as long as you have a plan and you can come up with these plans. So today I want to share with you a very simple strategy that will help you come up with 30 ideas in 30 minutes. Set a timer, boom, 30 ideas. That's 30 weeks of content. Now, what I'm also going to say is that when you sit down and you create this big old bunch of ideas, you don't have to use every single one of those ideas, but it is always good to have this bucket of ideas waiting, because you never know when you're going to need something on the fly. You also never know when something's going to change, and you need to go back to your bucket and look at your list and be like, oh, I'll talk about that. So I always like to have this extra bucket of ideas, and I will type them and save them in a place. And whenever I'm feeling a little stuck on content, because I can usually come up with ideas just fine on the fly, but I do get stuck. And I also get what I like to call content fatigue, where I feel like I'm talking about the same thing over and over again. And so I get content fatigue, or I'm afraid you're getting fatigued from the same old, right? And then I'll go back and I'll look at my list of ideas, and that list of ideas that I have, I pluck ideas from there, but I also will look at that and be like, oh yeah, I wrote that down because that was a good idea. And a few things have changed since I wrote that down. Boom, 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 boom. I'm going to now I have like 3 more new ideas from an old idea that I had. So I do think that this is a very important exercise that you always do. I think you should do it once a quarter and revisit it. But so we're going to talk about this process. I see we got lots of comments coming in, which is freaking fantastic. So this is going to be great. Real fast, James, I will let you know the autonomous. That is the autonomous. I am using an autonomous desk frame and I put my IKEA desktop on top of it. And it goes up and down. So yes, today I'm standing so I can dance, right? Okay. So good question. Totally fine. That's fine. All right. So here we go. So here's what I'm going to say. Do me a favor. Put your questions with a Q in front of them. That way it makes it easier for me to go find them. So I know some of you are kind of new to the Q&A. I have to give a huge shout out to my girl Jamie, because she's here hanging out with us live today as well. I will get to your comment here in a second. It looks funny. I think it's going to be great. Let me change my look. Again, using StreamYard today to go live. Let me change I'm going to go to minimal. I like you can change your themes in StreamYard. So you have I love the look of default with banners, but then when you guys have these big long comments, I like using minimal because it makes it a little bit smaller and transparent, so it doesn't totally like cover my face, right? So if I were to pull Jamie's back up, now you can see me, whereas earlier it was like crazy. So, but anyway, all right. So put a Q in front of those questions. I'm going to come back up to them. Okay. So I am going to be coming back. Meanwhile, and also what I was mentioning earlier, Kevin, I mentioned it. I'm going to get to your awesome question about Instagram here in a few. But first, I want to talk to you guys about this strategy. Again, you guys, here's the thing. It's not rocket science. I will say that. It's really not rocket science. But I want you to commit to doing this. I want you to find 30 minutes within the next week. I want you to show up next Tuesday, and I want to know what your ideas are. So within the next week, 30 minutes. I want you to set aside 30 minutes. Y'all can find 30 minutes in your schedule. I mean, you can find 30 minutes in your schedule. So I promise. Okay, here is what we're going to say. I'm going to pull up my banners. I'm going to tell you. Now, I will say this, though. You can spend more than 30 minutes on this exercise. I don't recommend it, because if you give yourself too much time, you're going to overthink everything. Let me just say, I speak from experience, okay? I'll say that. All right, here is the deal. You're going to come up with this content plan. 30 minutes. You're going to do 10 minutes for each section, but I guarantee you're going to actually find yourself probably writing down more than 30 ideas. So we're going to do 30 ideas in 30 minutes. You're going to set a timer. I personally like to ask my Echo devices to set my timer. I'll say, hey, set a timer for blah, blah, blah. And you can use your watch. You can use whatever tool you want to use. I don't know what's going on with my headphones, but like one side's playing louder than the other. I think it's because of the way it was in my ear. All right. So the first thing we're going to do, and this isn't new news, frequently asked questions. What questions do you get asked all the time? I want you to think about the questions that you get asked all the time, okay? Now, before you sit here and say, some of you might be like, Melanie, I'm kind of new in my business, or I'm still exploring, or I'm pivoting, or I'm changing. So you may not feel like you have all these questions. Also, the more engaged you are with your audience, again, I get so many questions from you each week. I get questions from you guys all the time. I know the questions you guys are asking all the time. So I'm able to then convert those questions into bigger pieces of content. So you can do the same thing, and you should be doing the same thing. In fact, I always say the FAQ is like the golden pathway to great content. So you may, if you're feeling stuck on this, then here's what I want you to do. Or if you feel like your audience isn't engaged right now, which is the whole reason why you want to come up with content ideas, right? I want you to go look at lookalike audiences. So you have your audience, whether it's small or big or whatever, okay? If you feel like your audience isn't giving you questions and you don't know what the questions are, or your audience is small, or you're just getting started, then I want you to go find an audience that is in the same place or in the same realm and asking questions. So there are Facebook communities for everything, you guys, everything. Follow somebody else's live videos that is talking about the similar stuff that you are. You're not going to copycat anything, but you're going to pay attention to the questions. So I teach and love live video. That's a big, big place for me. I'm in a couple of groups. I always talk about my mentor, Luria Petrucci. She's got a great program, a membership, the StreamYard Accelerator program. Tons of questions get asked in there. That's an easy place for me to go. But you know where else I like to hang out? The StreamYard community. So the StreamYard, of course, the application that I'm using, there's an amazing community. People are asking questions about live video in there. It's all they're talking about. So I'm getting a different kind of audience in there. And somebody will post a thing and they'll say, hey, what's your strategy for warming up your audience? I'm like, ooh, I'm saving that one. Or someone will post, what is your biggest challenge with your current live video, whatever. There's all kinds of people asking these questions. And then 50 comments, boom, 50 comments from people that are potentially my ideal customer. So go hang out in other places and pay attention to the questions being asked. Now, maybe you're like, I don't know where to hang out. Go find it. Go figure it out. Get off your butt and go find these places. Stop sitting back and saying, I don't have an audience. I don't know where my people are hanging out. You have to go dabble and try things out. Stop sitting back. You have to take action, get involved, get in there, serve in these communities, meaning give more than you take. You answer questions. You offer support. Be a cheerleader, even if you're still not sure what your role is, right? Just hang out in there and be paying attention and listen to the conversation. You can do that, and I guarantee you can spend 10 minutes in a Facebook group that's related to what you do or what you want to do, and I guarantee you can find it. If you're like, I don't have time to scroll through everything, then go to the Facebook group, go to the search bar and type question. Because a lot of people will say, I have a question about, or hey, I want to ask a question, blah, or here's my question, blah. Or somebody like a guru saying, what questions do you have about, blah. Boom. So type in question and go search the results that come up. Find the frequently asked questions and then take 10 of those and boom, you have 10 pieces of content, 10 live videos, 10 blog posts, 10 podcast episodes. Bam, right? When I said 3, I meant 3 kinds. Whatever your format is, pick it and go with it. Roll with it, all right? Okay, so there's frequently asked questions. Quick check-in on comments, right? Yeah, so Ariana says, give more than you take. I love it. Yeah, if you're gonna be involved in Facebook communities, the best way to get the most out of those communities is to be engaged. Be engaged and actually serve. You have gifts to share. You have answers to those questions. You can cheer people on, right? Support people for sure. Crystal says, vacay brought back the fire email we need on a Tuesday. Yeah, and the sun is out and it's 70, even though it's windy, but it's okay. Crystal says, yes, FAQs for the win. And I know that Crystal, again, like I said, she's podcasting. You know where 80% of Crystal's content comes from? The questions people ask. Again, I always say, God, Crystal, seriously, I think I bring this up. She wrote a book, you guys. How do you think she wrote a book? She listened to her audience, the questions that were getting asked, and she wrote a freaking book about it. Okay. All right. Next. My next tip. So frequently asked questions is always, that's like what the tip people give. What about the questions that people should be asking that they don't ask? Ever thought about that one? These are the should ask questions. So I got this from Stephanie Liu. She did this little masterclass a while back, and she was giving this strategy. She had read this book, and this was in this book, and I was like, oh my God, I never thought about should have asked questions. Yeah, there are tons of questions that people should be asking that aren't asking. Now, the reason they're not asking the questions could be because they don't know. They don't know what they don't know yet. And so you can future pace them. You can help them. For example, there's if you think about really great content that we love are things that, mistakes to avoid. Well, the reason why we like that kind of content is because we don't even know about those things. We don't even know we might fall into that trap, right? So sitting here saying, hey, here's five live streaming mistakes that you should avoid. Okay, great. The reason why that type of content is so popular is because people don't even know that that's a possible mistake. Nobody thinks of it. They didn't think of it, right? Nobody's going to say, hey, when I'm doing my live videos, how do I make sure that I look my best on video? They might ask that question, but they don't notice sit there and say, how do I look my audience in the eyes? Like, I always feel like I'm looking away. You look into the camera lens. So one of the mistakes to avoid live streaming is don't avoid looking into the cameras. Don't not look into the camera lens. If I'm looking at myself on screen all the time, this is what I look like talking to you. Does that look like I'm talking to you? No, it looks like I'm talking to your dog sitting next to you who's wondering who this crazy girl on screen is, or your kid who's e-learning sitting next to you at the desk, or the person, nobody. You're like, who's she looking at? Who's she talking to? Now I'm talking to you. I'm looking at you, right? I'm talking to you. You're connecting with me. Now, this isn't very connecting at all. And I'm like, hey, you need to get off your butt and go do things. But if I look you in the eye, that's connecting with you, right? Okay, tangent over. My point is that a lot of people don't even think about that. They're on their phones, they're doing their FaceTimes, and they're looking at their self on FaceTime. And then everyone's like, it just doesn't feel as engaging. You have to look into the camera lens. Your should have asked questions are the things that people don't know because they just don't know. They're new. Where are they in their journey? They don't even know to ask these questions yet. Think about how the fast track. Think about the value you can bring when you get somebody to say, holy shit, I never thought about that. Oh my gosh, I never even knew that. Oh, whoa. If you can get somebody to react that way to what you're telling them, it's gold. It's huge. So what are the questions that people should be asking? The other reason that questions don't get asked sometimes is because people are afraid to ask them. They are embarrassed. They don't feel comfortable. They don't feel safe. They don't feel like they have a vehicle or a place to ask the question. And some of you are in industries where this is actually very prevalent, where it's an intimate thing you're doing, or it's an emotional type of, business. You're maybe a coach for something. They don't know. They aren't going to ask the question because they're too embarrassed to ask it. And you don't have a one-on-one relationship with them. So you can predict these things. You know your people. So you maybe know what they should be asking publicly that they're not. So you go ahead and address it. You're going to free them. You're going to give them this freedom feeling of, oh my God, yes, I've always wanted to ask that question, but I felt really stupid asking it. So I never asked it, but she just answered it and I didn't have to ask it. That person's going to fall in love with you, right? So I know, here's the deal. Frequently asked questions. Yeah, I've always thought those were gold. Should have asked questions. Those are like platinum. So depends on what kind of metal you like and what kind of metal you want. I mean, they're all different, right? So there you go. I 100% 10. You can come up with 10 of these. So you're going to come up with 10 frequently asked questions, and you're going to come up with 10 should have asked questions. And now you have 20 pieces of golden content, right? Now, here's where we're going to get the last bucket, but here's what I will tell you. If you've been creating content for a while and you have a lot of content out there, this might take you down a rabbit hole. So beware, this might be where you go even further. So we're going to revisit old content. You're going to go back to content from 3 months ago, 6 months ago, year ago, 3 years ago, doesn't matter. So if you've been creating content for a while, I want you to go back and revisit some of your old content. One of the easiest ways to do it would be, what are some of your best performing videos? What are some of your podcasts that got the most downloads? Which blog posts have the most views, right? Because these were obviously popular. Now, many times when we create content, it might be something like, we'll use the same example I used earlier. 5 mistakes to avoid when live streaming. I can go back to an old piece of content, maybe where I talked about those 5 mistakes, and I can take a really deep dive on one of those mistakes and do like a little mini training. I can go even further with it. Now I have another piece of content. Now, you're not repeating. You might be repeating some of the things you said, but here's what I'll tell you. People are so afraid to go back to old content and bring it back to life. But here's the deal. A lot of you that are watching today with me, you weren't here a year ago, or even if you were, do you remember every piece of content I've ever created? And if you do remember it, meaning if you're like, oh yeah, I remember that one episode she did about profile pictures. Well, then that means it meant something to you. That means it sunk in. Are you going to hate it if I cover that topic again? I'm not going to repeat the exact same thing, but I'm going to talk about it again. And you're going to be like, oh yeah, great reminder. Totally forgot about that part. Yep, need to change my picture. So good content can actually, it's good to resurface it. People need to hear messages more than once. And if it was good the first time, it's probably going to be great the second time too. And you have a whole different audience. Your audience is always changing. It's growing, it's evolving, it's switching around. You're honing in, it's getting more focused. So don't be afraid to revisit old content. So go back and revisit some of your highest performing pieces and either go deep on something or go wide. And what I mean by go wide is take 3 pieces of content that are sort of similar. And meaning, like, let's say podcasts. You have 3 different podcast episodes and they were about, social media. We'll take 3 of those and then put them into one and go higher level, right? So take 3 content. So when you went, let me back up. Sometimes we go deep on a concept. Other times we go wide, meaning we give an overview, a quick overview. But we might go deep on something. What I want you to do now is take 3 things you went deep on and I want you to combine them and I want you to do an overview of it, right? So right now, I just gave you 3 strategies for coming up with content ideas. I could take each one of these 3 strategies and I could go deep. So I could do a podcast episode about how to find FAQs, how to pick the best ones, what to do with them, how to turn them into content. Then I could talk about should have asked questions, and I could go deep on everything I talked about. I could talk about the emotional aspect of why aren't people asking questions. I could talk to you about how to figure out where people are in their journey and how you can predict what they should be asking that they don't know. I could talk about the whole emotional side, the mindset side of people being fearful. And I could talk about how you can be their hero, right? And then I could talk about this, revisiting old content. This is revisiting old content could be like its own little training. That's an example of me taking what today is high level and going deep. So this piece of content could eventually become 3 pieces of new content. Do you see what I just did there? So revisiting old content is actually, in my opinion, a great strategy. And I have used to be scared to do it. And it's something that I'm actually doing. I'm actually going through the process of looking back at old content and pulling things out and deciding, okay, here's how I'm going to bring this one back up, or here's how I'm going to pull this one back together, or here's how I'm going to pull these, in as combined content. So there you go. That's what I'm worked up here. Okay, frequently asked questions. You're going to come up with 10 questions. You're going to come up with 10 questions that people should be asking that they're not asking. And then I want you to go back and I want you to revisit your old content and I want you to come up with 10 new ideas from old stuff. You might be able to come up with 10 ideas from one big long form piece of content you did, right? Depends on your content and the way it is. Or you might be looking at multiple pieces and combining them together. So 30 minutes, set a timer for 30 minutes. You can totally do this. So set a timer between now and next Tuesday, put it on your calendar between now and next Tuesday, set the timer, and I want you to come up with 30 content ideas. And I would love for you to post it in the group, in our Facebook group, our DIY Marketing with Melanie group, which there it is. I was trying to get that overlay to pop up earlier. So if you're not part of the group, go get joined. It's free. It's a free community for anyone who's doing their own marketing. We got all kinds of people in here that are in that group. Ariana's in there, Pokegal's in there. We have, Billy's in there, Crystal's in there. So if you're not part of the group, Kevin's in there. If you're not part of that group, come join. It's a safe place for you to ask questions. Also a safe place for you to share your content ideas. So I want you to come in the group and tell me that you did this exercise, and I want to hear how it went for you. And if you got stuck, tell me you got stuck. Let's get you unstuck. Okay? So there you go. Okay, are we ready for some Q&A? It's Q&A time, y'all. All right, I see lots of comments. Kevin says, my bucket ideas is now overflowing. I need an idea mop. He needs to clean them up, right? That is actually really funny. Okay, so I think I might have somebody I need to block maybe. Do I have someone I need to get going here? I don't know. Crystal, we were just having this conversation that when you're on YouTube, you have to be careful. You have to watch the people, because sometimes you get people you don't know in there and you don't know what they're trying to say. So I'm not really sure. So, Dan Moody, the name of the group is, if you go to Facebook and you search DIY Marketing with Melanie, it will show up for you. It will be right there. So, right here. So there you go. DIY Marketing with Melanie. Search for that. It'll pop up in the groups. Answer the questions, and then you will gladly be welcomed into the group for sure. So, okay, let me go up. We're going up, because I got questions. But first and foremost, because this is how we do it over here, we're going to answer Kevin's question that he posted in the group. So if you're in the group, you do get priority. So when I go live, I will post the scheduled stream, and I will actually say, hey, post your questions here. And if you're in my Facebook group, you're going to get priority and get your question answered. So he's got a juicy one for us. He says, I'd like to know more about how to use Instagram to drive people to my YouTube channel. I post static photos most days and tag them with relevant hashtags. I have just over 250 followers and gain a couple per week, but it feels pretty slow growth. I've recently subscribed to Descript so I can repurpose some of the gems from my live streams, but feel a bit confused by Reels, IG live stories, posts, etc., etc. So here's the deal. When it comes to, in my opinion, when it comes to growing Instagram, you have to understand your audience. And so the Instagram audience is different than people on Facebook or people on YouTube. They're just there for a different reason. They're there to do different things. I will say that I do think that using a variety of content formats seems to be helping. I know. So I personally am not an Instagram expert. I have been very committed to making sure that I am fully committed to a few things and not all the things, but I try to still pay attention and learn and talk to my friends that are using Instagram and whatnot. In fact, Crystal was just talking to me the other day in our little group chat with Heather about she's been using Reels, and she was saying some Reels will be like hard, it won't get any traction, and then every once in a while there'll be a Reel and it'll just be like boom, it goes like the views go through the roof like really fast. So, she's still experimenting. I think she said she was doing this for a month. She was going to try it out for a month. But I actually think that using a variety of content and trying a lot of different things and figuring out what your audience likes, you'll figure out what people want to come into by doing that. Now, you say you're confused by Reels, IG live stories, and posts. So here's the way it works. Obviously, you have posts. You're making static posts now. Those can be short videos or they can be images. They can also be multiple images in one post. So those are fine. I think that's good to have those in there because people, when they discover you, think about the journey they're going to go through. Somebody finds your profile somehow. They're going to look at your last, 9 to 20 posts that are the posts that show up in our grid, right? They're going to check that out. And that's going to be their quick sample. Now, they're also, once they subscribe to you, they're going to start watching and getting notifications if you are doing stories. You're going to show up in their little stories thing as long as you're doing them regularly. Now, the other thing is IGTV and Reels. Now, I don't do Reels. Crystal's our Reels girl right now. Maybe she can answer your question deeper in our group. But I do know that when you go live on Instagram, it's going to last 24 hours. I do believe you can repurpose that live. And then you also have IGTV, which you didn't mention here. So there are a lot of things. It's a lot of formats. It can be very overwhelming. I don't think that you should go out there and be like, I'm going to do all the things. I think that you should kind of do what Crystal's doing. Commit to something for a month, like do a bunch of stories. But here's what I'll say. Your content, as I'm rambling, I apologize. Your content should work together. So for example, if you're going to go live on Instagram on Thursday, well then Wednesday, do some story stuff, which are the short snippety things, and talk about the fact that you're going to go live tomorrow. That's a way to drive traffic. You want to be using your content to work towards itself. So I always say it's kind of like you're converging everything together towards some sort of end goal. Some of your content needs to be very goal-oriented, very strategic. There has to be a call to action. There's got to be a purpose for it. It's driving somebody to do something, right? All your other content should be supporting that, driving traffic to it. So for example, if your regular posts are going to be that, then you want to do stories and say, hey, I just put up a new post. It's about this. You do videos, robotic videos and things. You might do a story that shows part of something and you'd be like, hey, catch the rest of this video in my IGTV. So let your content drive traffic towards itself. I do think that's a very effective strategy. And I actually think that Instagram of all the platforms is the platform that is like the way to go. But it can be time consuming too, but it's all about repurposing. So look at your stuff and figure out how you can repurpose it. As far as growth goes, hashtags for sure. Look at hashtags. Look at what other people are doing. Be commenting on other people's stuff. You're going to have to see if it's for you. What you may find, Kevin, is that it may be that Instagram just isn't the place where you should be. Maybe if it's not working, then maybe look at it and say, maybe this isn't where my audience is. Who is your audience? And are they on Instagram? So go look at relevant hashtags and go search what other people are posting and see, hey, is there an audience here for this content? So if you're creating these hashtags for what you do and there's like hardly anything out there, then that probably means one of two things. You might have a window of opportunity, or that people that are interested in that are on Instagram. And so if that's the case, then you maybe don't put all of your efforts into Instagram, right? And so I know it's kind of like not a simple answer, but it is kind of like just one of those things. It's just like you know, Crystal says repurpose. Yeah, you're going to go crazy if you try to do custom stuff all the time. So here's what's kind of cool. If you're creating videos for YouTube, you can repurpose those as IGTV videos. So you can absolutely repurpose this stuff and make sure that you're doing that. Kevin says, yes, I will repurpose more. Okay, so Crystal says Reels can literally be anything. Behind the scenes are great though. So she's finding more success with behind the scenes. And honestly, if we're watching it, then, I mean, what are you watching? What are you consuming, right? So here's, we have a few people. So Cynthia, she's a YouTuber. She says, I don't really get anybody from Instagram. Ariana says, am I the only one who cares less than Instagram? Yeah. So Ariana says, I get no traffic by posting on Instagram. I go live on YouTube and start tagging like crazy. Yeah. So tags, be SEO worthy. I'll be really honest with you guys. I like Instagram, but I have said this many times. I am very transparent. I am one person and I like Instagram, but my energy is in my live content on Facebook and on YouTube right now. And it is working. I mean, I'm over 400 and some subscribers on YouTube when I had like nobody a year ago. I mean, nobody. The only people that were there are because they found some random ass video I did about using your Notes app on your phone. And it was, I had less than 100 subscribers. But I've been more consistent and I'm more consistent with my content. And here you guys are, right? Here you are hanging out. So Don here, he just signed up for my Facebook group. So again, you know what I'm doing? I am telling people to join the community, and here's why. Here's why that is my end goal. That's why I'm always leading you guys into this community, because that's where I really get to know you. That's where I get to know you the best. Yes, I can talk to you on here. And I mean, I think one time I was like, you know, I said, hey, Purgatory Paranormal of New York, what is your name? Because it's a mouthful, right? And I felt like I wanted to know who she was. She was commenting on my videos and whatnot. She's like, Cynthia. So now I know it's Cynthia. PokeGal joined my group. And I know that her name is Ariana because she joined and she's like, hey, it's PokeGal. I'm like, there you are. So I can get to know people better when you're in my community, because that's kind of where we hang out. That's like, I always say, that's like the cozy spot where we sit down together and we have drinks together and we talk and we hang out and we laugh, we support each other, we cry together, whatever it is, right? Here, we're hanging out outside, having a cookout. We're having a party, it's fun, but like, come inside and hang out for a while, right? And so that's kind of why I'm always leading people into the community, because that's where I can truly get to know everybody and connect with everyone. Okay. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start looking for questions. All right, so Kevin, hopefully that was helpful. You guys, if you are in the group, then Kevin posted this in the comments. If you have other ideas for Kevin or other thoughts about this, come in the group and share it. Say, hey, Kevin, love your question about Instagram. Here's what my experience has been. That's the whole goal of the group. Man, I'm like thirsty today. Woo! It's because I've started out running around. Crystal is blocking people on YouTube for me. Thank you, sister. I appreciate it. My goodness. Okay. Let me see here. Courtney joined. Fantastic. Welcome. When I get off the live, I'll pull you guys in. Okay. So Crystal says, IG helps me drive traffic to my long form content, podcast, and YouTube. So she's using Instagram and talking about, hey, a new podcast episode, hey this, hey that. She's kind of she's showing a little personality too. So over on Instagram, she's being funny and kind of quirky. She's sharing that personality, but she is ultimately driving traffic to home base, which her home base is her podcast and her YouTube channel, right? My home base is these live videos. I have a podcast. I need to be more regular with it. But these live videos is truly my home base, and my Facebook group is where I want you to stick. That's where you get to stick around and you get to talk to me in between my live videos. Okay, I'm going to scroll up. We're going up. See if I can find some questions. I hope I don't miss questions because my goodness. Okay. I do have different jewelry on today. Future Cars Man in Life, he says he likes it. This is why I like to play music, because while I'm like going up and searching, you guys can listen to a little music, right? Okay, here we go. I don't think I had any way up top. Ah, Hold on. So Cynthia, I did see this. And it could be it could be something weird with YouTube right now. The API might be broken between YouTube and StreamYard. I have no idea. But Ariana was commenting before the stream, and you were actually able to comment to this before the stream. So I'm not really sure. That could be, it is funky, something to keep an eye on for sure. Okay, here we go. Questions. I'm going to scroll and find your questions. I don't know who this was in my group, but yes, I am drinking limoncello. It's the limoncello LaCroix. Focus. It's actually delicious. I love sparkling water. I can't lie, you guys. Let's see. Okay, I'm getting past the vacation questions and I'm getting to it. Okay. This is one of those things, the feature that I really want StreamYard to do. And that is to let me pin questions so that I can go back to them, right? God, I'm getting hot, you guys. It's like hot in here. I don't have my heat on. Whew. Okay. Kimberly Ferguson. Hello, Kimberly, by the way. She says, do you double down on the social that you use, Facebook, or is it necessary to use Instagram, though I rarely remember Instagram? Funny that she asked this question forever ago, and we just talked about that. So we kind of did. I mean, I didn't see this question until just now, but I actually think that I always tell people, as you're starting to get into the social media journey, I do think you should pick one and go all in and go really deep with it. Now, a lot of people say, well, how do I decide? I think that you have to just figure, like she says, I rarely even remember Instagram. Okay, well then she's probably going to be more natural starting out on Facebook. However, you do have to keep in mind your audience. If they're a bunch of younger people and they're on Instagram, or if you're in fashion or something like that, Instagram is probably going to be a place you want to be. But I will tell you that I personally think that you can connect with people no matter where you are. It's just about your content and it's about how you connect with people. So I personally have been on Instagram for a long time. I don't tend to use it so much for business stuff. I do sometimes, but I'm here on Facebook, and I slowly added YouTube in. Now, why did I add YouTube? I added YouTube because I was capable with the ability of StreamYard to let me multi-stream. If it weren't for multi-streaming, you guys, I really don't know if I would be growing on YouTube the way I am and bringing in these wonderful new community of people that are here, right? And so, and IRC Adventure Talks, I see he posted a question, or she, about countdown timers. I'll get to that. I am doing that because I'm able to do it at the same time. If it were extra effort, I don't know if I would, right? So you also have to divide your time and conquer. And so repurposing is key. And I feel like when I multi-stream, I'm basically repurposing my time and my energy, and I'm able to go into multiple places at once. It's harder to do that with Instagram. And Facebook and YouTube, right? Instagram is its own little animal over here, at least for now. And you kind of have to give it its own dedicated effort, although you can repurpose content. So, okay, IRC Adventure Talk says, what do you think is the best countdown timer length? This is a great question, and it's actually a question that I feel like is the more people are using countdown timers, and so I think this topic's coming up more. I've actually just heard the last week, Luria had Owen Video on, and they did this little like back and forth about countdown timers. Another guy did something about countdown timers. People are talking about it, but here's what I say. A countdown timer is going to serve a purpose that you need it to serve, but it's not required. So you don't have to do a countdown timer. In fact, many audience members will tell you, I don't love countdown timers. I'm like, come on, let's get the show on the road. It does help in the algorithm. It does help you get set up. It does help you make sure certain things are there. You have to decide, do you need that time? Here's what I will say. The longer the countdown timer is, it needs to have a purpose. It needs to serve value to your audience. And so what I mean by that is you can use a countdown timer and like have a opening question and say, type your answer to this question. Like give people something to do during the countdown. Don't just have a static countdown. It's like, hey, we'll get started shortly. And it's a 5-minute countdown. That's boring. Play music, do something. Me being able to do this transparent countdown lets me entertain you. I'm connecting with you. I'm seeing you. You're seeing my face. You're not just feeling like you're looking at some spiraling number and listening to music. I also change up my music. I try for my music to be energizing because I want you guys to get excited. The other thing I'll say is that I have trained my audience through routine that you all know to expect a countdown. You know that when I go live, you got a couple minutes. But you're going to come back. If you find my content valuable, you're going to be like, oh, she's 3 more minutes. I'm going to go grab a cup of tea, or I'm going to go use the restroom, or I'm going to go scroll through here, respond to a couple texts, and then I'm coming back. Because you know my content is good, and you're here because you want to be here. Now, new people that come in they may bounce because they may not love the countdown. But if you're entertaining and engaging and they see value, they're going to stick around. So it all comes down to value. So I do think that, a countdown timer like mine isn't meant for every personality. Not everybody has the personality or wants to do what I do during my countdown. And so you have to think about that too. So I do think that a 30-second countdown is totally fine. Most people are completely fine with that. And if you need that to kind of get things rolling, then I say go for it. I do think that the countdown removes the awkwardness of when you click go live, and however way you're clicking go live, there could be a buffer of a few seconds up to 15 seconds of, are you actually live? And so you might start talking and it didn't actually start publishing yet. Or you might be waiting for that and you're just sitting here like, am I live yet? Am I live yet? Awkward. So that 30-second timer could be 30 seconds to your audience, or it could be 20 seconds to your audience. It creates a buffer for that. So I kind of like that option. Billy says, what is the structure of a good intro to your videos? Like what you say. I actually really like it when you come in for a YouTube video. I think you got to tell people what the video is going to be about. And then I think you remind them to subscribe and whatnot. And then I think you get into the content. You might do a little introduction and then you get into the content. For a live video, you got to warm the audience up, right? You got to kind of get them going for a while. So you could start out with a story. You could start out with a teaser. You could start out with a question, maybe some backstory about why you're going to talk about what you're talking about. It just depends. You could also do what I do and just hang out and get to talk to people, dance, do whatever, warm up. But then when I get into the content, when it's time to get into it, I usually tell you what I'm going to talk about. If I have any special announcements or reminders, that I go through that, and then we get into it, and then we go for it. And then of course I recap, right? And that's a pretty good general flow, right? In my live video bootcamp, we actually talk about this very thing. So we talk about show flow and how to develop your show flow. And there's an outline and there's a template for you so that you can create an agenda. Because again, one of the questions I was always getting asked was, hey, how should I start my live videos? How much content is too much content? How long should they be? Yada, yada, yada. And then other people were telling me that they always felt frazzled and they didn't really feel prepared. So I created a lesson on preparing and created an agenda for it. So that is something that comes up. And that was me taking something that I kept hearing over and over and over again, frequently asked questions, but also frequently occurring issues. How about that one? FOI, an FOI. So I decided to put it into the course. So, all right, let me look here. Next question, because I know I got some questions. Okay, Jamie. Okay, hold on. Jamie says, where do you toss your ideas when you come up with that aha moment or are in the shower? Where's the bucket? What's your organization method? I love this question. Okay, so she asked this question, and Jamie, I don't know if you're still watching. So here's the deal. Here's what's really funny. You want to know what I do when I have ideas in the shower? I've talked about this before, but it's been a while. I do what I call naked whiteboarding. I get my butt out of the shower. I dry off really quick. I put the stuff that goes in my hair right away because it's got to go in when it's wet because it's got to shape it this way. By the way, my hair process is I could do a whole video on that, but there's one, I got to do that quickly. And then I have a dry erase marker in the drawer and I pull that bad boy out and I actually start writing the ideas down that I just had. Because honestly, I actually do develop a lot of ideas when I'm in the shower. I like to listen to podcasts when I'm in the shower. I come up with ideas when I'm there. So I jump out and I write it down really fast. And sometimes it's just a couple of things. Other times it's literally like the whole mirror is covered with like an outline of something. So I do that when I'm in the shower. So just to answer your question. But when I'm out and about and I'm not around my system, so some people write down these ideas in notebooks. Some people use applications. Some people have a Google Doc on their computer. For me, I actually have a note in my iPhone notes, and it's literally called Ideas on the Fly. And that's where I throw ideas on the fly because I might be on a walk and you can use whatever you want. This is why I actually do believe in the power of using apps. I know a lot of people like to use notebooks. They're like, I do my best work when I'm just not in technology and I'm away and I'm free and I'm just using a pen and paper. totally fine. If that's your method, you should use that method. But you also need to have something like what Jamie's talking about when you are away from that method. And so the reason why I like having an application like Trello, Asana, a Google Doc, the Notes app on your phone, send a text message to yourself. Because you are going to have moments where you have aha moments. You know, you're at a conference or you're walking or you're at coffee or you might see something while you're driving. And next time you pull over, pull out that electronic version and put that in there, but know that, hey, I got to go and put it in my other system. So that's what I do. So I have naked whiteboarding when I'm in the shower. And then when I'm around, I just have a Notes app on my phone and I use it there. I know a lot of people probably use all kinds of other methods. Laura says dry erase bathroom markers. We have them too. Yeah. So there you go. Ariana's read. She's got to get off to her Zoom meeting. See you later, sister. Okay. So let me see. I want to go back too, because James brings up a really good point about that countdown timer. He says, I use countdown timers to ensure all networks are synced. Only 30 seconds after the stream, I cut that out of the post on YouTube. So this is actually something that is really interesting, because I don't do this right now, but I probably should. So I just haven't gone back and done that. I do know that if you trim out your countdown timer on a YouTube live, when you do that, you lose the live comments. So right now, if you go watch a replay of a live video that isn't trimmed, you can actually see the comments that were live, like all your comments right now. But when you trim that video, I believe those live comments go away. So if you don't care about those live comments, you could totally do what James is saying. Many, many, many experts recommend you trim out that countdown timer video, because YouTubers, they're there and they want to learn and they're hungry, and that's why they're there. Facebook, it's just, for whatever reason, people say it just doesn't seem to make a difference. There are a lot of people that have tested this and they say that it's not as important on Facebook. They don't trim them on Facebook. I don't trim them right now just because, quite frankly, I kind of think my countdown timers are kind of fun, and I think the music makes them fun. If they were just a static timer, like what James is describing, just a quick 30 seconds, I would totally trim that out. I would. I really honestly would, probably. But James makes a really great point, for sure. And the syncing thing is also something I've heard about a lot. So, okay, let me go back up. Ariana wanted to know if I was playing music with OBS. I am not. I am actually using Wavelink. It's an application that is letting me push music into my stream. I've talked about that on some older streams, Ariana. So, and I am going to be making a video about my setup. I'm actually going to make a big video about my setup and all my gear. So let me make sure. I know I had other questions. Answered that one. Okay. Scrolling down. We got a few more. This is rough. You guys are awesome, but I'm like, can't find the questions. Okay. Future Cars Man of Life. I had asked this question, but I didn't explain it correctly. I have this website that is able to separate voice and instruments. I could take some song and remove their voice and the instruments. Can you take? That's not a question though. I don't know what that question is. So sorry. Future Cars Man of Life. And man, I'm like not. I'm not a musician. I know Future Cars Man of Life does a lot of music stuff, church stuff too, I believe. Okay. Oh, Courtney. So Courtney is new to the group, right? So when you're in the Facebook group, you have to click on that little link in the description of the live video that says, hey, I'm going live with StreamYard. Make sure that you give StreamYard permission to display your name and your face. And that's just a privacy thing that they want to make sure that if you don't want that to show up, then, they don't want you to feel like your privacy is being, because I can pull your comment up, right? Okay. Yeah, so Cynthia's kind of coming back. She says, it's helpful when you schedule a stream ahead of time and the video with the reminder is up for a bit. Like mine for Thursday, people can set a reminder now. Yeah, totally right. In fact, there's for Facebook, you can schedule a stream 7 days in advance. I think for YouTube, it's even further than that. So yeah, I definitely think that scheduling streams, it helps people click on that little get reminder thing, and then they get notified before they're like 3 minutes before. It's like, hey, she's getting ready to start her live video, and then you can come hang out And I think that's the way to do it. So that's why I like using StreamYard, because it makes it so freaking easy. I mean, it's really easy. Let me see. I'll get you in there, Cosmin. I'll get you in there. Okay. I feel like I had one more. Oh yeah, here we go. So Crystal says, do you think live streaming has fast tracked your confidence on camera? Heck yes. I mean, here's the thing. I will tell you guys, I am very confident on camera right now. Like, I am totally confident on camera. And I do think that comes from just reoccurrence. So here's what I'll say. When I wasn't confident on camera, it was usually because I was out of practice. It's like a muscle you have to work. And I think the more you do it, you just don't think about it anymore. I never think about it. I never really sit there and think, oh man, I got a pimple today, or oh, I don't want to go live today, or oh, I don't like, I just go, I just do it because it's just part of it. It's part of the routine. It's like that whole 21 days to form a habit. I mean, there's some value in that. And I do think that some of just going live and clicking the button, you just get used to it. I know a lot of people that will say, that they, it took them a really long time to get confident on camera, and it took them doing other things. For me, it was just doing it consistently and regularly that just helped me do it. Now, I will say this, with my students that I work with who come through my coaching programs and whatnot, I always try to find out in the beginning what their confidence issues are and where they're challenged. Because some people just feel like their equipment's not good enough, and them upgrading their equipment gives them this like empowerment, and then they feel more proud. They feel like they're producing something great. Other people will upgrade their equipment and it doesn't do a damn thing. They're still just as less confident. So I always try to kind of understand where people's challenges are coming from. But I do know one thing. Every student that I've worked with, every person I've worked with, as long as they keep doing it and they stick with it and they keep going and keep going and keep going, they get more confident. 100%. Now, the funny thing is that Crystal's saying, do you think live streaming has fast tracked it? Here's what's kind of nuts. I actually have in the past hated pre-recorded video because I overthink it. It feels like it has to be edited, it has to be polished, it has to be, I just always feel like I can't flub my words on it. And on live video, you can. I actually think live video is easier than pre-recorded. Most people think the opposite, but it's because they haven't been doing it. Like, they haven't been doing it. They're used to doing pre-recorded, but then what you'll find is that when you have a few things, I mean, you guys, you know how I prepped for today's? I prepped for today's video content on a note card. That's all the prep work I did. And I delivered, a strategy for you guys. If it were a pre-recorded video, I can show you my pre-recorded outlines. They're long. They're like 2 pages long. And so it's just because when you're doing a pre-recorded video, there's a little more pressure for it to be correct and to be polished and edited. And so I find those harder to do. But I've been doing more and more and more of that type of content because I'm a partner for StreamYard and I've been helping them create some videos. I've been doing more of my own. I've been doing some as a guest. And that, I was never that confident doing pre-recorded videos before. In fact, even when I would watch a pre-recorded video that I produced, my energy level was nowhere near where it should be. It was nowhere near where it is when I'm live. And I was like, gosh, that sucks. But I've noticed I'm getting more comfortable. And the reason the way I know I'm getting more comfortable is because my process is getting faster. It doesn't take me half a day to make one 12-minute, 13-minute video. It takes me an hour, from start to finish, everything. And so I do think that live streaming has fast-tracked my confidence. But just like with the other stuff, it's frequency. Doing it more and doing it and just keep sticking with it, that's where you get confidence. And that's what she's saying. It's helped you. But live streaming, it's just this format. I've gotten more confident with this format. The more I'm on video in general, whether it be a Zoom meeting and turning my camera on, or a live video with you guys, or a pre-recorded video for my own content, the more I'm on video is how you get more confident. And that is by taking action. So great question. I'm really glad you asked that. Is your music playing in the background done? Oh, so inside of StreamYard? No. So I answered that actually. You probably posted this. Using Wavelink, the Wavelink software. Again, if you go to like a few of my older live streams where I started doing this, you will see I actually go through the whole thing for sure. Courtney says, is StreamYard something that could be used for internal communications too? We've tried to set up live events with Teams and it was kind of a mess. 100%. So you can, so if you're using Microsoft Teams will actually accept custom RTMP. I just did a video for StreamYard on what is custom RTMP. So if you go to StreamYard's YouTube page, you will see a video I did that is what is RTMP. Watch that, because actually Microsoft Teams is one of the examples that I use. Now, so you could basically do this whole thing I'm doing right here, and it would output to Microsoft Teams, but you would have to set up Microsoft Teams, your event in Microsoft Teams, as an RTMP destination. I explain all that in the video in very like second grade terms. You do have to be on a paid plan to do that with StreamYard. So, but you could try it, Courtney, for free. Go to melaniedion.com/StreamYard, and if you enroll there, you can get a 14-day free trial, and you can give it a try. You can give it a shot. The other really fun way you can use it internally, which you wouldn't need to because you're using Teams, is you could use StreamYard as virtual meeting software. Like you can. Cynthia says, do you remember the first time you ever hit that go live button? I sure do. Butterflies. I remember the very first live video I ever did. I was in, let's see, it was probably 2015. I think it was 2015. And I was in my office with two of my interns. I had two interns that summer. And I literally was like, you guys, we're going to go live today. And they were like, what? And I was like, we're doing it. We're going to do it. So I had this was back when, I was on Facebook. And this was back when you had to have your phone vertical, and it was a square only. And I put my phone on my little tripod that I had, and we did it. And I'm like, oh my God, we're live, you guys. And I was like, I was literally saying, like, I walked into the office today and I told these girls, hey, we're going live today. And they both looked at me like, what? And they were literally in the background just like, what are we doing? And that was the very first time I ever went live, and it was pretty fun. And I wasn't nervous because, I wasn't nervous that time because it was the first time I was doing it, and everybody knew it was the first time. And I feel like it's okay to be a baby at something. It's okay to be an infant in something. In fact, that's the window of opportunity. But I will tell you this, don't stop. Because I used to go live and dabble in it. And of course it was like, well, I'm brand new to this. And so I'm just figuring it out. Your audience is forgiving. They're going to let you just figure it out for only so long. But what happens is if you go away, to go back and restart that engine and to click go live later, that is where the butterflies came for me, is when I stopped doing it. And then it was like, well, I already know what I'm doing now. So I got to know what I'm doing. I got to show up. And when I took that break from it and then trying to come back to it, that's when it was hard for me, actually. So that's why I always say, keep going. Don't stop. Keep your momentum. Oops. Billy says, I use the same headphones as you. Yep. The clear headphones. The cord is super short. Do you use something to make it longer? I sure do, Billy. I use an extension. So this is the cable. I make it go behind me, and then I have this long cable. Now, I don't use this when I'm sitting at my desk and going live because my microphone's right here and I plug it right into my microphone. But when I want to be standing and dancing, I have to have more length. So I got to be able to, move around and dance and stuff, right? So I use the extension cord. I actually put it in my back pocket because if I don't, it pulls. It kind of pulls on me back here. So I actually take this part right here and I put it in my back pocket. And sometimes you guys probably see me messing with it. That's what I do. So you can get those at Walmart. It's just a 3mm extension cable. That's all you need. Okay, I think I see a couple more questions. Bust a Scammer. He says, please make a video on how to add music. I will, I promise. I will do it. I actually keep saying it, and it is in my queue to explain to you guys how I'm using OBS with StreamYard and how I do that transparent countdown timer in the beginning, and of course the music piece too. But I will tell you, Bust a Scammer, go over to StreamYard's, if you're super anxious, go to StreamYard's YouTube channel. There's a video that a gentleman did. I forget, I think it's Michael. I think Michael's the one that did it. And he did a video on how to use Voicemeeter. Now, if you're on a PC, it would be Voicemeter. It's a free app that lets you push different sounds into your stream. And then the Mac version is Loopback. So those are two applications you can use to push music into your stream using StreamYard. For sure. So, okay. Last question. Future Cars Man Alive says, I know that Periscope is being deleted. I had created an account on Twitter last month and I had connected my Twitter and Periscope account, but I saw no videos. How do I see my past and recent videos? Man, that's a good question. And I don't know. Honestly. I do know that StreamYard is still they're waiting on information from Twitter on how the whole Twitter live stuff's going to work. So Periscope's going away, but there is, I believe, going to be live video on Twitter. That will eventually get changed and switched over. I don't know, though. I really have no idea because I don't use Periscope. And to be honest with you, I rarely use Twitter. Like, I don't. But he said I did. So confusing. I know. Sorry. I promise I will do a video and I'll explain my setup and how I'm doing it for sure. So, all right, y'all. That is going to wrap it up for today because holy moly, it's 3:10. But you guys, next week. So come join me next week, Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to tell you right now because you guys are my people. Doors are going to open. Enrollment will be opening next Tuesday for my live video bootcamp. So be ready for that if that's something that you're interested in. I've been talking about it. It's not been a secret that the doors are opening again for that program. It is essentially a course about doing live videos and up-leveling your live videos, but it is also a group coaching program. I am going to have a VIP element, which will also add one-on-one coaching with me if you are interested in that. So if you want to do that, if that is something you're interested in, it's coming. Enrollment is going to open. It will be open for a few days. So get ready. I will be talking all about it next Tuesday, but we'll also be answering questions and I'll be, of course, bringing it with some content help for you guys. But so be on the lookout. I'll probably be going live quite a bit here in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, because one, I love it. And I'll be talking about the program. Might have some special guests to show you guys and talk to you guys about how they've used live video. But this is my program. It is my course and my group coaching program, and enrollment is going to open for the next wave of it. And so I hope that if it's something you're interested, send me a DM, ask me questions, or tune in next week and we'll talk about it and I'll share more about it. So, all right, you guys, I love you guys. You guys are the best. I'm so glad you guys are here showing up live with me every week. It's always good to see the same faces like Cynthia and Ariana and Kevin and so many, Bradley and so many others. So thanks again for being here. You guys are the best and you make my day. And it's good to be back from vacation. Back to a routine. Lots of work to do this week getting back from vacation. But all right, y'all. I'll see you next time.